Spousal sponsorship is a very common application in Canadian immigration. A lot of folks, when they get married, they want to sponsor their spouses, and hence they need assistance and need to apply for spousal sponsorship. It is a long application and a big application. However, as daunting as it may seem, in this video we're going to talk about step-by-step instructions on how you can prepare your spousal sponsorship application. So stay tuned until the end of the video. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Dhruv. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. At our firm, Effizient, we assist all prospective immigrants with their immigration procedures to Canada. So if you are an aspirant, if you need assistance, you can feel free to contact us. Our contact information is over here. We would be happy to assist you. If you would like to chat with me personally, you can book an appointment. The link to book an appointment is in the description below. Now, before we continue with the topic of the video about spousal sponsorship, let's answer the comment of the week. This comment comes from Love Hundal, and the question is there any specific requirements apart from the continuous 6-month experience to be eligible for a trade draw? From IRCC's perspective, just to get the invite, you don't really need any specific education or certifications. However, when your application is assessed at a later stage, an officer must be convinced that you actually had the skills and the ability to perform the job that you claim to have experience in. That means that you need to be able to have the necessary education, certifications or skills to perform that particular role for the 6-month duration due to which you became eligible under the trade draw. Let me give you an example to explain this. For each occupation, for each NOC, there is employment requirements, and within the employment requirements there are things that are mandatory and there are things that are optional. Now, if you do not possess one of the mandatory requirements in the NOC's description, then the officer will or may come back and say that, you know, I'm not satisfied because you don't have the mandatory requirements to be able to do this job. Hence, I'm not satisfied that you did this work for 6 months, and then they may not consider your application and refuse your application. As an example, if you are claiming your experience as a licensed electrician, then you must have the license, right? If you do not have that, then that experience is not really possible to have been claimed. If you have not obtained a license as an electrician and you are claiming experience of a licensed electrician, that means that experience is not really valid because you do not have the necessary authorization to perform that work. But on the other hand, there are so many different occupations in the trade list that do not require any prior education or specific certifications. Welder is one example. A lot of folks get jobs as welders without prior education or experience or certifications. So again, it really depends on the code, on the NOC code that you're claiming. For some of them, you may need additional certification and education, and for some, you may not need anything at all. Now let's come back to the topic of spousal sponsorship, how you can apply and what are the step-by-step instructions for an application under spousal class. Firstly, the guide is the most important resource for you to prepare an application for spousal sponsorship. The guide is IMM 5289. Here on the screen you can see the instruction guide, IMM 5289, for a spousal sponsorship application. As a sponsor, you need to meet the eligibility requirements, and the most basic eligibility requirement, first of all, is you need to be a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen to sponsor your spouse. If you are a permanent resident, you need to be residing in Canada. You cannot sponsor your spouse while being outside Canada. If you're a Canadian citizen, you can be inside Canada or you can be outside Canada. However, if you're residing outside Canada, you need to prove to IRCC that after the spousal sponsorship is processed, you plan to come and reside in Canada, and you will be living in Canada with your spouse once the application is processed. Once you have determined your eligibility, the next step is to know the forms and the documents that you require. The guide 5289 has the information about forms and the documents. The main 2 IMM forms for this application is IMM 1344, that is an agreement for undertaking. Now, once you have determined the eligibility for spousal sponsorship, the next step is to now start preparing the application. In order to prepare the application, you need the forms and the documents. Everything about the documents and the forms that you need are in the document checklist. The document checklist for spousal sponsorship application is IMM 5533. This can be seen here on the screen. It contains all the forms and all the documents that you require to complete this application. Now, as some of you may already know, every kind of PR application comes with some standard forms that need to be completed. These forms are IMM 0008, that is the application for permanent residence, IMM 5669, which is background declaration, IMM 5406, which is family information, and IMM 5562, which is travel history and travel information form. Apart from these forms, there are two main forms for spousal sponsorship. One is IMM 1344 and IMM 5532. 1344 is application and sponsor eligibility and undertaking agreement that every sponsor needs to sign when sponsoring a spouse. 5532 is essentially a relationship questionnaire which assesses your relationship and assesses the eligibility. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go into the details about how to fill these forms because that will make it very lengthy. I would be happy to talk about them if there is interest and if people want to know about those things. However, we'll move on to the next step, which is after you've compiled the forms and after you have compiled the documents as per the document checklist, then how you need to go and apply. Now, the application for spousal sponsorship is done through the online PR portal. On the screen, you can see what this PR portal is, where you can find it. You need to create an account on this PR portal, and the applicant, which is the spouse who is being sponsored, has to create an account, and that is the person who will upload everything and sign the declaration and submit the application. Don't make the mistake of sponsor creating the account and sponsor signing the application, because the applicant is the spouse who is being sponsored, not the person who is already a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. One important aspect of a spousal sponsorship application is proving your relationship. So as an applicant, you need to prove your relationship to the sponsor, your spouse. There is a list of documents that are required to do that. If you check the document checklist, in the document checklist, there are specific documents that IRCC asks for, and as long as you can provide those documents, you are okay. Along with those documents, what we recommend is creating a small sheet that showcases your story of relationship, that tells how you met, that talks about how you got married, what were the events, and after marriage, what have you been doing. Now, once you have completed the application, uploaded everything, you need to sign the application. This is done digitally by accepting a declaration and putting your name in the PR portal online. Once you have signed, at that point you can make the submission, but don't forget to pay the application fee. You have to pay the application fee online for this application, and you need to upload the receipt. The application fee for a spousal sponsorship application is 1,205 Canadian dollars, which includes the sponsorship fee, the processing fee, and right to permanent resident fee. And on top of that, you probably will have to pay $85 for biometrics. So in total, around $1,290 as of today. You will pay online and you will upload the receipt before submitting your application. Once everything is complete, you can hit the submit button and your application will be transmitted to IRCC. Now, what happens next after you've submitted? After a few weeks or maybe a couple of months, you will receive an email from IRCC, which is essentially an acknowledgement of receipt, saying that they've received your application, and the sponsor will also at some point receive an email from IRCC saying that confirming that they've met the eligibility to sponsor, and from there on the application goes into processing. You'll have to do a medical exam at some point while the application is being processed, and once everything is done, you will receive your final decision. Now, this was a summary of steps involved in a spousal sponsorship application. It is a big application, it is a long application, and there's a lot of things to go over. tried to keep it concise in this video. We can make more detailed videos if necessary. That's all for today's video, guys. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you are notified about any new video that we upload. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.